anything? Never mind. We'll just do it. We'll just do it.
Go. Everything's fine. Whatever you want to do is fine.
Okay.
Yeah. And welcome everyone to the 10K Rum podcast. I am your host, Amos Joseph, joined by my co-host, Brook Potter. And here we are. How's it going, Brook?
It's going well, Amos. I am exhausted, if I'm perfectly honest. We just finished a 1.5 hour stream on Religion Zero with our friends Corey, Bobby, as well as Rolo Tomasi jumped in, which was very exciting for us. Only a year late since he's promised to have us on the show, so we'll have to pick up that later.
We're never going to let that go, are we?
No, I'm not going to let that go, man. You know. So out here, we're enjoying the beginning of third winter. So it looks like we're having another cold front out here in the UK. I don't have anything to drink. We're having Masculine Geek on the show, and I've got nothing to drink, and I have no cigars. So I feel terribly ill-equipped for today's show.
You are. You're coming up short here, man.
I know. I didn't have time to run off between the last show and this one, so I do apologize. I'll make it up for the next one.
There you go.
I'm doing well, guys. I'm doing well, guys.
I'm doing good. Also a little bit tired too, getting up a little earlier to do the show. Since for the viewers, because we have 5 time zones to work with, because there's me in Central Time with Conk, and then there's Bobby in Thailand, Brooke is in the UK, and then of course Rolo is in Nevada. So it was definitely fun. But yeah, we do have Masculine Geek today. So far, we've got Rob on board.
Right. The loose cannon of the whole bunch of guys. Those two kind of rein me in, and here I am ahead of them. And it's like, I can say whatever I want. I can just run amok. Where's Vince and TJ now? My handlers aren't here.
Exactly. Yeah, because there's also TJ and Vince coming. We're gonna bring him in as we go on. But we're having a little chat before the show, and Rob was having a lot of good stuff to share. But one thing I do like, I've heard, Rob, you've actually started talking about it a lot, at least from what I've seen, is your whole thing with your ex-wife. I like just how intense that story is, and Brooke here's never heard it, so I guess not just, I don't want to hear just about your wife, obviously, but kind of your
walk us
origin story,
the origin story. All right,
origin story, yes.
Okay, well, yeah, it's old news for a lot of people. Obviously, it's old news for me because I've been divorced now since 2015. So this July will be 5 years that I've been divorced officially. Even right now, Utah, for instance, where I'm from, Utah, when it comes to divorce, doesn't have a legal separation. Okay, right. Some areas do that. When you file for divorce or whatever, or you can go and petition the crown to get a legal separation where basically you can do whatever you want except get married again, because then it's bigamy. With Utah, that's not how it works here. With Utah, you are married until you're divorced. And as far as I know, if you want to play it safe, that means not just when you file, but when the judge signs off and, okay, here, it's finalized. Now you're divorced. It's done. It's over. You're good to go. So for me, it's been 5 years since I filed, and in July, it will be 5 years since it's been finalized. Now, when I got married, I met my ex-wife back in 2007 is when I met her. And it was 2 years later that we got married. So it was in 2009. And it was actually on April Fool's. That was the day we got married. And that was a conscious decision. That was a choice we made. And we thought, that would be a good one to have. It's kind of it's kind of prophetic in a way that it's like, well, April Fool's. And I'm not the same guy I was when I was married to her. There was a lot of things in the marriage, and some of them were her and some of them were me. That I was the blue pill chump. I was the guy that I married the wrong woman for the wrong reasons. I had a lot of fantasies in my head about how things ought to be, not how they were, how they ought to be. And every day at one point in the marriage, I called it my punching myself in the face phase. Because every day I was getting up, looking in the mirror, and I was literally punching myself in the face because I'm like, what are you doing? This is the rest of your life. If this continues, this is what the rest of your life is going to look like.
Wow.
And it, she was a good woman. I'm not gonna, I don't want to shit talk her too bad because she had her flaws. We all do. She also had her positives. There was a lot of good things about her, but the negatives outweighed the positives. And the thing is, and this was where I had to learn to own it on my end. She never lied to me. Hey, looky who's here.
Yo.
What's happening, Vince?
Good morning to you.
But she never lied to me. Like when I first met her, she flat out told me like, I'm hard to love. All these little things that I thought were her just being dramatic or being melodramatic or kind of being over the top, I realized she was honest about it. That it's like, oh no, when she said she was nuts, she wasn't kidding. She was nuts. And so that was one thing I learned about women in general and about her in particular is when I go out and I meet somebody new, I watch what they do, but I also listen to what they say because they will tell you who they are, and they will tell you who they are sometimes right from the word go. You will know, and that was me. That was me turning a blind eye because that stuff came out early, even before we'd gotten married, lived together, all that stuff. So I knew what I was getting into, and yet I chose to turn a blind eye to it. Because of love and because of, it's what people expect of you and it's the right thing to do and all those excuses and all of those things that we are told and that we tell ourselves.
Yes.
Okay. So, and that's why I don't fault her entirely. It's like, no, there was no surprises there that when I look back on it and even while I was going through it, I could look at it and I was like, this isn't like deception. Like, wait a minute, you changed. She didn't. She was exactly the same person at the very end of the marriage. She was the same woman that she was when I met her. She literally had not changed. I was the one who changed because I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And it got to a point for me where I was like, well, okay, I started thinking about divorce fairly early in the marriage. But then it was, maybe you're just being shallow. Maybe you're being overly critical or overly picky. All the rationalizations and all the excuses. Okay. And then it was, well, you start buying the tropes, it takes work to make it work and all that kind of stuff. But I just finally got to a point where I was like, you know what? If I had to choose right now between doing this another day or being dead, I'd rather be dead. That's where I got. I got to a point where looking down the barrel of a gun was more appealing than the idea that this is going to be the rest of my life. Because I could see where things had been and I could see where they were going. And it was going to be more of the same and it was going to get worse. It wasn't going to get better. It was going to get worse. Because I could see from the financial end where we were going that it's like, oh God, we're starting to tank. And it's like, if we keep doing this, I'm going to lose my house, not our house, my house.
Right.
I owned it before I met her. It's in my name. I'm the one who pays the mortgage and all of that stuff. It's my house. And if we keep going the direction we're going, I'm going to lose my house. And that to me was one of the things where I was like, that's not acceptable. That's not fucking acceptable. Oh, pardon my French. But I was just like,
your accent sucks, by the way.
Huh?
Your French accent sucks.
Oh, there we go. See, but I was just like, it got to a point where suicide started becoming appealing that it was like, okay, you know what? I would rather be dead. If this is what if this is what life has left for me to do, if this is what it is now, then there's no point in me carrying on, because I've seen it, I've done it, I've lived it for a few years now. I don't want to do this anymore, and I would rather be dead. And that's where I finally got. And that's when it was like, okay, well, I have three options. I can keep doing this, which wasn't an option. I can kill myself, and hey, that's at least something. Or I can get out, and whatever happens there, whatever fallout comes out of it, I don't care. It's like I told her when I told her I wanted the divorce. I said, you can have everything in the house you want. You can have every last stick of furniture. You can have every appliance. You can take everything out of the house you want. There's only three things I will fight you over. I will fight you over the structure itself, the house itself. You're not getting the house. That's mine. I've had it for years before I met you. You don't get the house. I will fight you over the motorcycle because that's mine. It's paid for. I had it before I met you. I will fight for the bike, and I will fight you for the firearms because those are all mine. I needed them at the time for the job I was in. Plus I like firearms. And so it's like, and I've had most of these before I ever met you. And so those are the three areas that you want to try and take some of that from me. Then yeah, you got a fight coming. Otherwise, whatever you want, take it. It's yours because it's just stuff and I can buy more stuff down the road. And one thing I learned, because I knew I wanted to get divorced way before I got divorced, but it was also that we tell ourselves not only stories about, oh, we're being picky, or, oh, it'll change, or, oh, it'll get better, or whatever lies we tell ourselves. Not only was I doing that, but we also have the lie or the story that we tell ourselves of, okay, so if you're a guy watching this live right now, or you're a guy who catches this on replay, and you're thinking about getting divorced, okay? You're like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. Or you're thinking of leaving, whether you're in a marriage or you're just in a relationship, it doesn't matter. They're kind of the same, okay? But you're thinking of leaving, but you don't want to be the bad guy. You're like, I want to let her down easy. I want to make this as painless as possible. There is no good time to tell someone you want a divorce. There is no perfect moment where, oh, now, okay, well, he or she did this and they got this career going on and they got that going on. And so now's the time. Guys, there's never a good time to wait to tell somebody you want out. Okay. I did that for a while because it's like, oh, well, if she does this and she does that, that will leave her, a better ability to, land on her own feet kind of thing. And I realized, who am I kidding here? There is no good time, because when I told her, for me, it was no shock. For everyone that knew me personally, they were like, oh, you finally did it. Everyone around me except her knew I wanted out. Everybody knew it was coming. Yeah. They're just like, we could tell in your body language, your demeanor, some of the things you said. We all knew that, oh, it's a countdown for him. He's tying up loose ends and tidying things up so that he can hit the ground running. But she was the only one that didn't see it, and that's because she didn't want to see it. Yeah, right. Denial is not just a river in Egypt. And denial is a real thing, because when I told her, and it hit her like a bombshell, she was completely stunned. And that's what blew me away. I'm like, you didn't see this coming? I've been avoiding you for months. I've been finding whatever excuse I could to stay late at work, to stay out, to do whatever. You really didn't see this coming. This is an actual shock to you, because I'm thinking, good God, I'm surprised this woman's not accusing me of an affair, because I am finding reasons to not go home. Where in the very beginning, I was, all about going home. It's, hey, I want to go home. I want to be with my wife. I want to be around her. And it went from that to now, I can pull another shift. You guys have overtime? Hell yeah, give me some of that. one, I needed the money, but the other was I don't want to go home and deal with her. I don't want to see her. I don't want to talk to her. I don't want to hear another word coming out of her mouth.
Yeah.
But you get to a point, if you're there, guys, all I can say, if you're waiting for the right time, there is no right time other than make sure you got your ducks in a row. That if you know that's the case, you're going to file. Because I was the one who filed. I was one of the 20% or whatever. You know, if women are the 70 or 80% who file for divorce, I was one of those oddities where I took the initiative. And to be honest, guys, not that I'm, you know, I am kind of anti-marriage based on my experience, based on what could happen to a guy. My marriage, the divorce itself was really amicable for the most part and was very painless compared to some guys. I didn't have to go through the meat grinder. Okay. I dodged a major bullet in my divorce. And so it was a walk in the park compared to a lot of people. We didn't have kids, so we didn't have to worry about the state intervening on that part. Thank God. You know, it's like, well, we don't have to go through whatever mandated. Now you're going to be a divorced parent and how you need to co-parent and all that stuff. I'm glad we never had children, so at least I didn't have to deal with that. If you got kids, whether you're divorced or you're married or you're in an LTR or whatever, but if you got kids with a woman, guess what? The state, at least in the United States, is getting involved whether you're married or not. That is one of the unpleasant realities you will have to face. Okay, but we didn't have that, so I was happy about that. That it's like, well, I don't need to worry about any of that stuff. No custody, no child support, no visitation and mandatory classes and all that kind of crap. It's like, don't need to worry about that. All it's going to come down to is are we going to squabble over stuff? And I had already told her, here you are. This is where, you know, these are the couple of the hot spots for me. Beyond that, take whatever you want. Just go. Don't go away mad. Just go. You know, just go away. So,
quick question. I wanted to just because you talked about the three options: one, kill yourself; the other one, keep going, which wasn't really an option, and then, of course, get out of this. The Rob who basically before that decision, before like coming to versus the Rob that we're talking to today, would you say that's a different person back then?
Absolutely. That's one thing I had told my ex-wife during the divorce when we were filing and going through all of that, and she was moving out and taking whatever she wanted. And of course, you know, she did not want the marriage to end. I did. And I remember one day looking at her because she was trying to, you know, I'll change, I'll do this, I'll do that. And I was like, nice try, except I know that's bullshit. I know how you are because she's a year younger than me. Okay. So at the time I was a 42-year-old man. She was a 41-year-old woman. And I was like, look, you've been this way your entire life. Why? Because it's worked for you. You're not going to change to save the marriage. You might change temporarily that, 90 days, 6 months, you might turn over a new leaf. But I know the reality, and I know in a year's time, we're going to be right back where we are right now. So let's just beat it to the punch and get there. And then what I told her was this. As I said to her, I said, honey, don't consider this a divorce. Consider this a funeral. Because the guy you fell in love with, the guy you married, the guy that fell in love with you, he died. This guy that's standing in front of you right now, looking at you, talking to you, looks just like him, but he's not the same guy.
Would you say you killed that guy?
Absolutely, I did.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That there was, it was almost kind of like a Jekyll and Hyde thing in a way, that it was almost like having two different personalities. Where it's like, okay, there's the guy that I am now that was inside the other guy and was witnessing everything that guy was doing and was going, oh, dude, what are you doing? Stop doing that crap. Stop doing those things. Dude, no, don't do that. And the other guy wouldn't listen. And so this guy finally came forward and killed him. He's like, I have to put you out of your misery. This is a mercy killing, but I have to get rid of you because this isn't going to work. And then that's who I became was that other guy. And that other guy loved her in the compassionate human sense that I wish no ill will on her. She is a good woman, and she's going to be a great woman for somebody else, but not for me.
This is why I like your story a lot, because like, so Brooke and I, with our ministry past and just the things we talked about, and also just, and it's funny how we found this with the red pill when World talks about killing the beta. And it's this repeating narrative you can find even in Christian theology about the difference between the old man and the new man. Now, whether you want to apply that to, there's a lot of different things you get into that, but it was interesting that you identified with that specifically to say that, who I was is dead and who I am now was like the new me kind of thing. I really
and that guy, that guy for me, I'm good with who I am. I'm good with this guy. It's like, I like this guy. This guy doesn't tolerate a lot of crap from anybody. He definitely has no problem saying no. He definitely has no problem with, hey, what's in it for me in that sense, that, hey, what am I getting out of this? Because I did it the way everyone tells you you're supposed to do it. Oh, you put everyone before you. You put people's needs before your own. You take care of everything else before you take care of you. And I did all of that. I did all of those things. I did the playbook. It was the old book, as Rollo would call it. I did all of that. And all it got me was nothing but unhappiness and misery. And that's when I thought, well, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to do what I want to do. And people can either get on board and come along for the ride or not. And I'm okay either way. If they don't want to get on board, that's fine. No harm, no foul. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. And so I just started doing my thing. And some people went away. The ex-wife went away by my choice, not hers. Other people fell off too, because they're like, wow, well, we don't like who this guy is. And it's like, of course you don't. The guy you liked did all the stuff for you. This guy's not doing shit for you. This guy's taking care of himself. And so of course you don't like that guy. And I understand that. Why would you, when I had done it a certain way for so many years? That's what they got used to. And they're like, wow, you've changed, and not necessarily for the better. I've had people say that you're, for lack of better words, you're a more terrible person now than you were 10 years ago. And it's like, yeah, but that guy was a sucker. I'm not anymore. And call it whatever you want. Say I'm bitter, say I'm angry, which really I'm not. It's like, no, I just don't tolerate any bullshit anymore, because life is short. And I've been happier since that time, that it's like, oh, and I've realized, I had a saying that I've written about. I've posted the picture, but it says there's two ways to look at life. There's nobody gives a shit, or there's nobody gives a shit.
That's it. That's it.
And that really, not to sound cliched, but that's what set me free. It's, and this was even after the marriage when I found that one, that it was just like, oh my God, because in the end, you're the only one that you got to live with you 24 hours a day. And your life is your own. And yeah, people are going to judge. They're going to say whatever. They're going to like or not like what you do. At the end, it doesn't matter. All that matters is what you think about it. And that's all that really matters. And so you might as well do whatever it is you want to do. Because I've had, coworkers, oh, you can't park over here and you can't walk in this door and all that. And I'm like, what's going to happen if I do? And so I do it sometimes out of spite, just to be like, well, I want to see what happens. Hey, guess what? The world didn't come to an end. I didn't get arrested. I didn't get ticketed. Nobody fired me or whatever. And yet I parked right next to the building where I could get in and out easily instead of walking, a football field away. And it's like, I started not worrying about what other people think or what they do or what they think of me. And it's like, yeah, you like me, you don't. If you do, great. If you don't, fine. I don't really care. And that's where I'm at.
From now on, you got to call it your baptism. Really.
And that's a good way to look at it too. You could say that was it. That if my change or transformation or whatever, where I killed the beta, was back right before I got divorced, then the baptism was when I found nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
But it's like, wow, that is so true. It's like, hey, and that was like, hey, whatever, in 100 years, nobody's going to care. So why should I worry about it right now? So,
right. Now, we've got Vince here too.
Yes.
We're still waiting on TJ. Any word from TJ?
That slacker.
I don't know. Hang on.
But I wanted
to. He can make it.
Oh, no, that's fine. Got 2/3. That's pretty
good. Yeah, that's all right. Two out of 3 isn't bad.
We'll yell at him later.
Right. Mr. Responsible being irresponsible. Color me shocked.
that bastard.
You missed the very beginning, Vince, where Rob was saying,
I didn't miss anything. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, you didn't?
No, I'm kidding.
Vince has already heard my story. He's like, again?
No. He said at the beginning, like, you guys are his handlers, and he got in here before you guys. Now he can go wild. No,
that's pretty much that pretty much sums it up. I mean, that's
right. That's right.
Oh, we've got Conk in the chat. Round up 2/3. Yeah, it's 100%. But I wanted to ask Vince then, like, now we've obviously, I've heard the story about the beginnings of kind of Masculine Geek. But just if you want to sum it up quicker, because I know you probably told it plenty of times, but I guess the origin story of Masculine Geek, and if you want to tie in some of your own story too, you can do that as well.
Sure. I had mentioned this before. I've been percolating for a while, and the summer of 2018, going into the fall, I decided, you know what, I want to do this. This is something that it needs to be out there. Like-minded guys coming together, talking about the things that they love from a masculine point of view. So I proceeded to direct message through Twitter, both Aaron and TJ, because at the time we were all friends. We had met actually through Twitter and met up in person. And that was a cool medium for which to share ideas, meet other people, and curate your own online friends. So I said, I have this idea. And I told him, I said, I want to call it Masculine Geek. What do you think? TJ immediately caught fire, and he was on board. Aaron's a businessman. He's like, that could work. I'm like, whatever. We're doing it anyway. So we did. And around the same time, this was all coming together. It was, I think, late November, early December. Rob, correct me if I'm wrong. I think when we had our first discussion in December.
Yeah, that was probably it, because that's when I needed you to talk me off a ledge, because that's when the ex-girlfriend had left too. That was another bomb that happened to me, that, you realize when you do this thing that we labeled the red pill, and it's your little journey of figuring yourself out. You can backslide. You get comfortable, you get complacent, you start doing old behaviors and whatnot.
Well, you were a bit isolated too.
Well, that too. See, that was something I didn't say to you guys backstage when we were talking about death and whatnot. My mom died in September of 2018, and 2 weeks before she died, my ex-girlfriend that I'd been with for 4 years, this was after the divorce, she decided to up and leave. She decided, I'm going to move out. I'm going to go do my thing. And that snowballed me. I did not see it coming. I mean, hindsight, there were things that hindsight is always 20/20, that it's like, oh God, there was this and there was that. And so, yeah, there were things, but at the time I wasn't seeing them. That's where I'd realized I had backslid in some areas. Okay. Now, she has her own responsibility in certain things because there was deception involved. Okay. But I get where she was coming from, and I'm definitely not going to talk bad about her, because she's a good person and she did what she thought was best for her. Okay. But I had 2 gut punches back to back. She left, and then 2 weeks later, my mom died. And so it was a couple of months later after that all of that had really kind of sunk in, is when, I was isolated in a lot of ways. Besides work, I didn't have a lot of people around me that I could really kind of go to. And so it was literally one of these out on Twitter kind of things that, hey, I'm kind of thinking of going off a ledge here. Can someone talk me off? And Vince is like, hey, here's my number, text me, call me. And that's kind of how it all started with me and him.
Good man.
Yeah.
So that's how I met Rob, and we talked. In fact, that first call was almost 6 hours.
Yeah, we were a couple of old ladies.
Rob and I talked for almost 6 hours. We were a couple old women that day. Yeah,
yeah, we had our own little knitting circle going on, talking about everything, anything, and nothing. It was crazy.
It was pretty cool. And then I don't know if it was at the end of that discussion or our next phone call. I was like, hey, I had this idea.
It was the next one. It was the next one.
All right. Thank you for the memory.
Yeah, that I do remember is that we didn't talk about Masculine Geek the very first time.
I hadn't thought so, but I wasn't sure.
No, you were just talking me off a ledge that night. That's all that was.
Priorities.
Exactly.
And then I was gonna say, then TJ popped out of a pile of leaves and joined you guys too.
Yeah, right. Well, he was
Hi,
already
guys, golly.
golly gee. Well, he was already on board
He was
anyway.
on board. Yeah.
And I told her, I was like, you know what? You're a geek as well. You got a secret geek, and you used to play D&D, Cyberpunk. You're into all these things. You've got a good mindset, as it were. I want you to be on the show. And
even I was like, "Are you sure?" Because I don't really classify myself as a geek. You know, a lot of it I had done in the past, but I hadn't really carried a lot of it forward. And I'm like, I'm more the music guy, the shoot guns guy. That's a little more my thing. But I was like, hey, I'm willing to give it a shot. But are you sure? Are you sure I would be a good fit? Because I'm
a good judge of character. Yeah,
he is. Yeah. And
so.
It was just kind of funny though. As I'm like, you've seen some of my stuff, right? I swear and carry on and drink and all this. And he's like, I don't care. Come on the show.
I fucking care.
There,
so there you go. So, and I figured, we all have different personalities. We all come from different backgrounds. There's some similarities to, what we call the red pill stuff, but it works all together. Like Masculine, I mean, I know I created it and I originated and I do all the back end stuff, but I'm not just Masculine Geek. It's Rob and TJ and I. We're all three of us together, or otherwise it doesn't work.
Yeah. And that's one of the fun things is that I look at us in a vacuum, if that's even possible. But I look at, Vince in isolation. I look at TJ in isolation. I look at myself in isolation. And I'm like, how does this work? Because in a lot of ways, you would think we're not compatible in a lot of ways. That it's like, there's no way these guys could actually work out and make a show that actually works and actually meet each other and get along in real life too. And yet it works. It's like, okay, it does work. Our dynamic is one of these weird things that I think in any other situation, it probably wouldn't work. Yeah. But for us, it does. It's like, okay, well, TJ's like the highly intellectual, deep thinking young guy that I'm looking at him. Sometimes I'm thinking, and you're younger than me. You're like way younger than me. You know way too much for someone that young. You shouldn't know this stuff because I didn't know this stuff when I was that young. You're literally an equal peer to me when it comes to a lot of things. And there's a lot of things I even look at TJ and go, wow, why is he asking me about this? This kid knows way more than I do. Why is he talking to me about it? I'm like, I don't know, dude. And I don't care, and yet he's got that down. Same with Vince. And it's just like, how does this work? But it does, and it does.
Yeah. We have a good dynamic, which I'm happy with. So that in a nutshell, that's the Masculine Geek story. And Aaron started out wanting to come on, and then Aaron is Aaron talking about existing in a vacuum. I don't trust anyone else to do this but me. I will do this, so it's like I have to do my own thing, and Aaron does his own thing, and that's fine. He comes on occasionally, as you've noticed.
Yeah, he's like an honorary member because he did start out with us, but yeah, Aaron does Aaron. Aaron's got his thing he's got to do.
Yeah, and I had a feeling that was going to happen. He would eventually drop off, but whatever.
It's kind of like when I first started playing D&D, and it was like talking to a DM about like setting up groups. He said it's not so much like you can bring together good players and they're going to make a horrible campaign. You could have players that have absolutely nothing to do with each other, no real compatibility. It's more so how they work together in the game. So it's like you can take them apart and like, well, this guy, here's a brand new player, here's a veteran player, here's a guy that really likes this, here's a guy that doesn't like this at all, and you think like none of them can work together, but then you just somehow, it's like some guys were saying, it's like a band that gets together and like no one's really that talented themselves, but not saying you guys aren't talented, but
I know what you mean, but you're way talented when you're together.
Exactly.
You're a mediocre guitarist by yourself, but when you got that drummer and you got that bass player, something happens.
It's like an interesting.
It's like magic.
It's an interesting gestalt. Yeah, the sum of the parts don't equal the whole. Yeah.
Yep. Right. Yeah, it's you sort of emerge as something greater than any of you alone. But even if somehow, it's that dynamic. Now. I know you guys obviously have D&D in common, but what are some like geeky things that you guys are individually into that the other isn't?
Oh, that's a good question.
That is a good question.
Well,
I know here's one that I can't say that Vince and TJ aren't necessarily into it, but I know it's never really come up. So I guess, hey, Vince, what do you think about making music and stuff like that? Because that's something I'm into. I haven't played my guitar in a long time, but I've been involved in music on some level. I follow a lot of different type of bands as far as musically. When I was in college, one of the things I did was radio production. Being a DJ, I've been on terrestrial radio, a college station type of thing back in the analog days before everything went digital. And, you had to splice tape with a razor blade and put everything together to get your commercials set up, or you had to get your interviews if you did something like that. I remember those days, and now I see all of the technology and I'm monkeying around with it to get better sound, to get better video, all of that, because I still love doing that kind of stuff. I mean, hell, it's part of why I'm here. And I don't know if TJ and Vince would be into something like that other than beyond the bare basics of it. Because that's something I get into. I start going down deep rabbit holes on that kind of stuff.
Right.
Vince, you want to chime in on that?
I used to be in bands back in high school and early college days. I played a little bit of keyboard, but predominantly tenor and alto saxophone. So,
oh wow!
So you could be kind of like Ray Manzarek / Kenny G, and I could be Robbie Krieger / Jim.
The hair is coming out, so
yeah,
probably
you kind of got that not Rastafarian, but you got that hipsterish kind of thing, that 60s do-ish going on. That we could kind of like, instead of calling it the doors, we'll call it the windowsills.
There you go.
When are you dropping the album, man? That'd be pretty cool.
Oh, there we go. Well, that's just it. We got to get together and not be tanked.
Because then you could like make your own little intro to the podcast, like you throw it in there, or if you now I don't remember. Does Masculine Geek go on any podcasting platforms besides just on YouTube?
Yes,
we do Periscope.
Well, and also don't forget SoundCloud, Vince.
Oh, I'm sorry. We do have SoundCloud, which I have to update. But yes, we do SoundCloud. Right. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
You could do some sort of a basic intro, kind of a collaboration between you. Does TJ play an instrument?
That's a good question. I don't know.
I don't think he's ever mentioned it.
Yeah, I don't recall him ever saying like, "Oh, I played the trumpet." Or,
but hey, you know what? If the fucker was here, you could ask him.
He could answer the question. Yeah, no kidding. Right. See, it's funny you mentioned the intro, because literally as you said that, I started thinking about it, and what I could hear where Vince mentioned that he'd played kind of keyboards a little bit and did the sax, besides the whole Ray Manzarek of the Doors and Kenny G with the saxophone thing. I literally started hearing like the very intro to Joy to the World from Three Dog Night. That dun, 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 Jeremiah was a bullfrog, I started hearing that organ keyboard intro, and I was like, God, that could be hilarious, because we would screw that up so bad and bastardize it. It would be great.
We wouldn't have to worry about copyright issues because it wouldn't sound like anything like it.
You do a few different
Nope.
notes. You murder it, so then people kind of go, well, that kind of sounds like they're killing Three Dog Night.
Nope.
But it's not the same, so it's not quite the copyright violation that you just claimed it could be.
Yeah.
Have you been having any of the issues with YouTube in terms of your content and copyright?
Tell them about the band episode, Vince.
The what episode? Oh, God, yeah.
We got
with MLD John.
There was a confluence of events, I think, that culminated in being banned. One of them, we had Modern Life John on. He comes on occasionally, and he was in his bed. I guess he had just woken up late. It was around 10 a.m., 11 a.m., or whatever. And I guess he was naked. He's in the bed, so you can see where this is going. So he's kind of leaning. Yeah, he's kind of leaning over like he's like this woman in the bed, all trying to be sexy and shit. And he has no shirt on. So I guess with gravity, when you're on your side, it looked like he had a pair of tits and nipples. And I think YouTube, for whatever reason, along with the fact that I said the R word a few times,
retread. Yeah,
retread. Between the nipplage and the R word, YouTube was having none of it. So like right a little past half of the broadcast, immediately shut down, just dropped us.
Right.
Yeah, we're like, what the hell just happened? We were still on Periscope, but we weren't on YouTube anymore.
Yeah. Now the good thing about StreamYard is you're streaming through StreamYard and through the APIs and whatnot. It's pushing it to YouTube. So YouTube can whatever. We still have the recording. So what I did was after it was done, I downloaded it and then uploaded it to YouTube. So
does it? So when because I'm on we're trying out the basic upgrade that they have.
Mm-hmm.
That gives you the ability to record it.
Yeah.
Okay, because
you can if you go into the back end and you look at your past, go into past broadcasts, and if you click down the little arrow in your list, like say when you're done here, go in and once it's compiled, take a look at it. You could download video,
okay,
and everything, or you could just download the audio, which is good for me because I'll go in and download the audio through that and throw that up on the SoundCloud.
Right. Because you're showing, so we have it right now. We're on Facebook and YouTube. There's like little check marks showing it's broadcasting to both. Did basically the YouTube one just blink out?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, that and we had people like on Twitter that were like, dude, what happened? You guys just got dumped. Because that was one of the things I remember, because that even happened to me, and I think it was when I was on Red Evening with Jack Napier, that we got dumped for whatever, that it wasn't a human complaint. It wasn't someone, filing a complaint type of thing. And if I remember right, what it was is Jack was showing images of women in lingerie, and it was lingerie. I mean, it wasn't even nudity, but they were copyrighted images.
Right.
Okay. And the algorithm caught it. That's how good the algorithm is, guys. It's like, wow, that nobody complained. Nobody in the chat, everyone in the chat was like, oh, we're seeing half naked girls. This is good stuff, but the algorithm was like, ain't having it, because the next thing I know, the chat's not scrolling or moving in StreamYard. Nothing's going on. I'm thinking, wow, these guys are just spellbound, or they're bored out of their minds. But usually when they're bored, they're really talkative. And all of a sudden, Jack's like, dude, we got dumped like 10 minutes ago. And we were still yapping, still going on. And it was other guys that, as I'm looking at my Twitter feed, that they're like, man down, and it's like, oh shit. Okay. I guess and it just dumped us. And it's like, oh wow. And I know other guys, I was talking to Chris Von Erich the other day, and I guess they had something similar, and he was talking about the bug. He was talking about, the thing that's going on right now. I'm not going to say it because I think that's why he got dumped, because he's telling me that him and Franklin were talking about the bug, and all of a sudden the show's just off, and it's like, I even told him, it's like, dude, you mentioned the bug, but you mentioned it by name. Yeah. And he's like, yeah. I'm like, that's why you got shut down. Because they don't want to have any dissenting point of view about the bug. And so you can't call it what it is. You got to call it the bug, or you got to call it something else. You can't call it by its name, because the algorithm seriously is picking that up, and that's how you're getting shut down.
Yeah.
So, but he's like you guys, where he's paying for it and whatnot, or like what Vince has done for Masculine Geek. And I told him the same thing, where Vince, just got done talking about the episode of Modern Life Nipple and Retread. Okay, that Vince then turned around and re-uploaded what we had, and it's still there, right, Vince? Because
the whole thing is still there.
Yeah, it's all there. So it's an algorithm thing. It's not a.
It was in the moment.
It's not a person being butthurt or doxing or attacking or something. It's an algorithm thing. So there's obviously flaws in the algorithm. But I was telling Chris the same thing. It's like, dude, you have the paid version of StreamYard, yeah? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, you've recorded it, right? That's kind of a default setting. He's like, I'm like, just re-upload it. Just when it's done compiling and rendering and all that crap. Yep. Throw it back up on YouTube. Call it whatever you want. I know Vince called our episode like the banned episode, but it's up there, yeah. and the R word is there, and Modern Life Nipple is there, and it's all there in its glory, but it hasn't been taken down since. So
yeah, no. And the only thing going on with YouTube right now that I've seen for us is, and I've heard some rumblings with other people as well, the compiling time takes for like when you're done, it'll say processing.
Yes.
Ours takes anywhere between 12 to 16 hours to finish processing.
Wow.
Whereas it's normally an hour or two. We don't go over 2 hours.
Okay.
So,
that is a lie. Don't even go there.
No. Our standard broadcasts, I make sure they don't go to past 11 o'clock. Now our random broadcast, yes, but I've been looking at our Wednesday
caveats.
I've been looking at, it doesn't matter. I've been looking at our Wednesday this past Wednesday broadcast took 13 hours.
Wow, to process.
Yeah. I was actually complaining to Modern Life Nipple about that. We're commiserating on Telegram about that. He's like, is it taking long for you? I'm like, it is actually, yes. So
that's crazy. I mean, have you all been surprised by, so since you've started the project, how long has Masculine Geek been going on now? Over a year?
January, our first broadcast, I think, was January 6th of 2019. So yeah.
Yeah, right after New Year's.
Yep.
Yeah.
So have you been kind of impressed at the reach and some of the good contacts that y'all have made? And has anybody of you like starstruck? Like, wow, we got to speak to this person.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
I'm not guys that I've been like fanboying over. That's like, oh my God, we had Rolo on. I cannot believe we've had Rolo.
I know. It's the fact that I got us all to play D&D online with Raul. I told you guys know that story, right?
I'm not familiar with it. No.
Okay. When he started broadcasting, I guess when he does his solo shows, and even when he went to whatever show they did early in the beginning, he had his camera angle such that you could see whatever was behind him. Okay. And behind him was a bookshelf. And you could see a little bit of a portion of this table with like a magnifying light, and you see some brushes and paints. I'm like, that MFer paints minis. And then I zoomed in on the bookshelf because I thought I recognized some of the spines of the books. I'm like, oh crap, he's into Warhammer and like D&D. I'm like, he's a secret nerd.
Yep.
So when we had,
I'm like that conversation before he came out. Yep.
Yeah, it's like we want to get him on the show and talk about all that kind of stuff. And then it went from let's do a live D&D game. So that's how that happened.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there's still guys that I guess I look up to, if you want to call it that we have them on it. I think the world, I don't care what other people think. I love Modern Life John. I think he's great. Yeah. He's controversial. He says things that are polarizing.
He's very entertaining.
Very
entertaining.
Extremely entertaining.
Super entertaining.
And that's one of the things I love about the guy. But at the same time, I've also seen him backstage, and it's like, oh man, this guy's all business, man. He knows what's up. He's not stupid. He's a smart man. And so I still, to a degree, kind of fanboy over him a little bit. I fanboy over Ryan Stone. Ryan Stone's one of my favorite content creators. That it's like, oh my God, I'm on the show with Ryan Stone. How cool is this?
Yeah,
You know, and
we've
it's
had
like,
him
be
on
cool,
Masculine
Rob,
Geek.
be cool.
Yeah,
You
we've had him
know?
on Masculine Geek, Ryan.
Yeah, we've had him on before. You know, I did a show on my channel, which is one of the few I think that's out there, where I had Carl from Black Label Logic, where he kind of only did the Rule Zero type of thing, and that's all he ever really did. He and I got to talking one day because we follow each other on Twitter, and I think Carl's a great guy. And it just kind of turned into this conversation of like, dude, I do a show. You need to come on. And he's like, okay, how about we do it, you know, this Saturday right after like Rule Zero kind of thing. And it's one of out of my live stream shows, it is my most popular show. And it's me, him, and Jack just getting tanked, just getting wrecked. I mean, Carl got wrecked, but we were all just drinking. And it's like, oh, when did Carl start drinking? Yeah, he started at Red Morning, you know, with Ryan. He was drinking then, and then he went to Rule Zero and he kept going. And then right after he got done doing that, he came on to my show, and we were doing that for almost 5 hours.
Oh,
just
boy.
drinking and talking shit. And it's just like, oh my God. And it is my most popular live stream. And even, you know, Carl, it's like, I still kind of fanboy that I'm like, wow, I got Carl on my show. How cool is that? You know, so
you didn't get to see him though, right?
Oh no, I have no idea. And honestly, even if I did know, I wouldn't tell you guys because he values his privacy, and I respect.
Oh no, I know. I think I know some people that maybe have met him. I'm not sure though. Like, it's tricky when you're out in this sphere, and like some people, you know, they're probably more comfortable with, you know, revealing, you know, what they look like, their name, and all this stuff. But then some people kind of go, you know, they have certain monikers or names that they go behind, and they got to be careful with that. So it's
whatever the reason is, I always look at it that whatever your reason for anonymity, if that's what you feel you need to do, whether it's your job or it's you live in a part of the world where maybe you don't have the liberties, I guess, that we take for granted here, where you can get away with more things in other places. I know certain things are hate crimes or whatever that, hey, you say this, someone's going to come and put you in handcuffs and throw you in jail. And it's like, so I get it, you know, that, hey, you want to do the anonymous thing for whatever your reasons. I can respect that, because I've talked to guys that, you know, it's their job. But man, if my job found out, I'd get fired. You know, straight up, they would axe me right here. And I've got 20 years in the industry, and I don't want to risk that. And I don't blame them. Or I don't want my friends and family to know. I don't want my neighbors to know this is what I'm doing, you know, because they're not going to see it the same way. They're gonna, they drank all the Kool-Aid, you know, or it is, hey, my country, we don't have the liberties you do. And if I say those things that you're saying and showing your face, I'm going to jail for saying those things. And I really don't want to go to jail. And it's like, I get it. So I understand. And, you know, whatever it may be, the only thing I can say about if you want to do the anonymous thing, and I know guys that do, I've had them on the show. You do have to step up your game. I've only met a few guys that can really still be an engaging panel member or guest or whatever. And you can't see their face, because I know when, you know, when guys are wanting to listen to this, cause like I listen to a lot of different podcasts, and I'll listen to the audio version of it because I can download it to my phone or whatever. And I can listen to it as I'm going throughout my day. I can pause it, where obviously with video, you're kind of either tied to your phone, you're staring at your phone or your tablet, or you're sitting at a laptop, or you're watching it on the big screen, whatever it is, but you're kind of tied down to it. Okay. But when you're tied down to it, you kind of want to see what the guys are doing. You want to see their expressions. You want to see them. You want that connection. And when you want to do the anonymous thing where you're just an avatar, you kind of do have a handicap with that, because nobody can see you. So they can't connect with you. They don't know if you're smiling or you're laughing or you're rolling your eyes, or you're going, you know, they don't get any of that kind of stuff. And so that can turn some people off. And so to me, it's like, well, if you want to do the anonymous thing, that's great, but you better step up your game and know that you need to step up your game. You better know your topic, or you better be able to crack a few jokes or whatever. You better be relatable in the form that you're choosing to be in. And I've only met a couple of guys that can really pull that off, and Carl's one of them. That it's like, I have no idea what the guy looks like, nor do I care. But I can relate to Carl because of his sense of humor. The fact that when he got just wrecked, and it's like, oh my God, this guy is tanking. He is just drunk. And it's like, I can relate to that, good or bad, I can relate to it. And there's only been him and a couple other guys that I can think of as immediate examples that, hey, they can pull it off. The rest of them, it's like, you need to work on your game if you want to be anonymous. Otherwise, you need to reevaluate if this is what you want to do and if it's worth the risk, I guess, and show your face. Let people see who you are. My job knows what I do. My boss follows me on my email list. So, and I've talked to my boss that I'm like, you know what I do, right? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, do you have a problem with this? He's like, as long as you're not, talking about the company and shit talking the company, I don't care. And it's like, oh, cool. So basically, I'm kind of bulletproof there. And even if I wasn't, I can get another job. I'm not too concerned about that. So to me, it's like, there's only one person that if I was to be doxxed, there's only one person they could get to me through them. And that's my dad. And he's the only man I fear. So I'm looking at it going, you want to go after him to get to me? Have fun.
Good luck.
That's the only guy I'm afraid of. That's the one guy, and he's 70 years old, and I'm still afraid of him. He's the one guy that, he's got this. He's fine. Go after him. See what happens. Otherwise, there's no one that you can come after, to get to me. There's no one. There's nothing you can do to me. There literally is nothing. And so it's like, I'll show my face because, people like it. They want to see me drinking my piss water, as Vince calls it, all that kind of stuff. So
that's right.
Vince, I know one of the early objectives of the Masculine Geek was really to reach out to a lot of young men who like geek culture. They like, the desktop games, gaming online and stuff like that. Would you say at this point that you've reached a couple of those people? Have any of them reached out to you and say, thank you so much for what you're doing? We felt so isolated with all these kind of SJWs, and now we know it's okay to be a man in this sphere. Have you got that kind of feedback?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, it's funny because Jack Napier started following us back when we first started, and even in the comments, he says, "Oh my God, thank God! Something out there is like this. I can let my own geek flag fly, as it were." So yeah, we get emails. I get Twitter DMs. We talk with people on Twitter all the time. We've met a few of them at one of the meetups. So yeah, it's really cool because they're out there, and these guys need a little bit of guidance, maybe a little bit of mentorship, and to be able to see, because you have to lead by example. We can get up here and we can talk all we want. We can run our mouths until we're blue in the face. It's not going to mean anything, but we have to walk the talk. That's what that's what it comes down to.
Well, and this is also a good way to show the guys in the replays or the guys in the chats that are watching right now that, guys, we're a couple of goofy fuckers. All right. We're a bunch of goofy dudes. And that's what we do, because we couldn't. Vince had said this when he was talking about why he writes, why he's published the books he's published. And I'll never forget this, because he said, I did it because this is what I wanted to read and nobody was writing it. So I wrote it myself. Okay. This podcast to me, or what we do in Masculine Geek, is another extension of that. It's like, okay, we're not finding groups out there that are doing this. So we did our own thing that, okay, well, since we couldn't find it, we're going to do it ourselves. And if three misfits from across the country, from across the United States, one in the East Coast, one in the West Coast, one somewhere kind of in the middle. And again,
you're the meat in the sandwich, Rob.
I am. I'm bookend, man. God, I feel the love. I'll tell you.
That's right.
It's almost homoerotic. But if we can have that, and that, like I said earlier on, that in a vacuum, you'd think, how could these guys possibly work together?
Yeah.
But yet it works out. And I'm honest with guys all the time that they ask me all kinds of questions. How do you know what you're doing? I'm like, dude, I don't know what I'm doing. I had no idea what I was going to get involved with coming on with Amos and Brook. I had no idea. It's like these guys were like, hey, do you want to come on? Sure, let's go on. Okay. What are we going to talk about? I don't know. Whatever comes out of my mouth, I guess that's what comes out of my mouth. And so here I am drinking beer at 11 o'clock in the morning. You know, it's 11 a.m. Utah time. It's 5 p.m. somewhere. And I'm drinking and having, you know, I don't know what I'm going to say next other than if 3 guys from across the country can get together and say, hey, let's do this. Why not? And we fly more by the seat of our pants than not. If we can do that, then anyone else can do it too. And so if you've been thinking about putting a show together, then do it. Whether it's an audio version, a video version, whatever it is, whatever your subject matter is, there's a need for it. And so do it. It's the hardest part is getting off your ass and doing it. It's to say, screw it, I'm doing it. Yeah. And if you're watching this and you're in the chat, you already have a YouTube channel because that's how you're in the chat. So you've already done the first hurdle. All you got to do is just start doing content.
And that's the issue with a lot of guys is they have this analysis paralysis. We want, especially guys who are slightly obsessive and want things to be perfect.
Yeah.
Because I do that with my writing, and that's one of my hurdles I have to learn to not do. But with Masculine Geek, it was like, all right, I got to do all this research. And then I sat down like, no, I just got to do it. Got the domain name, signed up for did the whole YouTube thing, and just figured out how to. All right, well, here's how we do our first podcast. This is what's going to happen.
Oh yeah, you
just have to forge ahead. Yeah, you learn. You basically learn as you go. It's like with anything. It's the experience. You have to try things out. You just learn as you go. And what we're doing, Rob and TJ and I, no one else. This is what we're doing is new. It's cool because nobody else is doing this. We have this niche that we can make an impact. So,
and it's obviously needed, you know.
Yeah. Oh,
and I know from my end of things, it's like, guys, boost the signal. You know, if what we're doing, you know, you can relate to it or whatever, you can do the same thing. You know, you can do the same idea. And yeah, you're not going to know what you're going to say. You're not going to know what you're going to do. And that's okay. It's better to just do it and go, wow, I did my first live stream and it sucked and the audio sucked and the video was flickering and I had a bunch of shit in the background going on that I was like, oh God, I look like I live in a dumpster, whatever it is, but at least you did it versus what Vince was talking about, the analysis paralysis of, well, it's got to be perfect. I got to get the SSL and I got to have this and I got to have that. You're always going to find an excuse to not do something.
And a lot of times,
always going to be something that's going to stop you.
Yeah, and many times you may think, all right, well, what do I talk about? What do I show? What do I do? It's really easy. Pick something at the very least. Pick a hobby or an interest that you have that you play to your strength, what you're good at.
Yep.
And do that. Like if you are really good at playing an instrument, video yourself playing an instrument and talking to the audience that's out there. Whether it's how you created the song, how you created this particular riff. Talk about how you got into music to start out. Something,
whatever it is,
whatever it is. If you're into collecting guns, if you're into collecting painting miniatures, sit down with your camera down and talk to the audience while you're painting. Talk about how you got into that, and then once forward movement has a way of it just gains momentum and keeps going. But
a body in motion tends to stay in motion.
Exactly. You have to do that first step and keep moving and be consistent at least once a week. Now we do occasionally, Patreon podcasts and stuff, but we also have a random broadcast. We may be doing one later this afternoon too. So, but that's the thing. And it's interesting because the random broadcasts are are as popular, if not more than the Wednesday broadcasts. So apparently there's a need for just random talk and the ability to sit down and decompress in the middle of the day.
Right.
Like, oh, okay, these guys are on. I'm going to go check them out. So it's kind of cool.
Well, especially now with I mean, the quarantine and such is starting to lift in some states. It's going to start opening up over the next month. One thing that I noticed, because you were talking about how people have different kinds of channels. I found this channel. It was a guy just experimenting with Legos, like a lot of the motors and a lot of the gears and stuff. So he started like just calculating, how do I randomly stumbled upon this, and I was watching a ton of videos. This guy is like testing out, cranes or flying little propeller things, just all with Legos. There's no face. You see the guy's hands. He's playing with it. He'll show you the different things he did. And I was like, and this has, a million subscribers.
Exactly.
There's another guy I watched. All he does is just bass guitar stuff. He'll try out different kinds of bass guitars. And probably through that, like companies that probably make guitars are like contacting him. Hey, review this bass guitar for us. To be like, oh, here's a 4-string, here's a 5-string, here's a 6-string, here's a riff from a song that maybe you never heard of or someone thought was really hard to do, and I just did it. Like,
absolutely.
You find it, and then you just randomly, like, again, like, what was it, the hydraulic press channel? You guys have probably seen that.
No.
Never even heard of it. Tell me about the hydraulic press channel.
It is a video. It is a channel where a guy with there's a handful of them. They have a hydraulic press, and they're just compressing shit.
So they're crushing shit.
There's videos where
they're doing the self-improvement Twitter of crush it. That's what they're doing.
There you go.
But that's all it is. It's like, oh, today we're gonna crush. They've like crushed iPhones. They've crushed metals. They'll just like take a water bottle, crush that. They'll crush a can of Red Bull. They'll crush soap.
I could see the satisfaction in that, because that actually, I'm gonna have to look that up now, because that could be so gratifying to be like, yeah, they fuck Bill Gates or fuck Steve Jobs. These guys are crushing shit. This is good times.
They crushed toilet paper because of the quarantine. They took a roll of toilet paper and they just crushed it at different angles to see what would happen.
That's pretty fun.
Dude, well, and that's it. I know a guy that he's got over 100,000 subscribers. And what does he do? He goes out with his GoPro and he shoots himself fishing. Okay.
Really?
Sometimes he's in a boat. Sometimes he's on the shore, and all he does is he fishes. And he'll talk to the camera here and there. He'll talk about his lure and his hook and his bait and all that kind of stuff. But that's all he's doing. You're watching a guy for like 2 hours fishing. And I'm looking at that. Yeah. I'm looking at that going like, this is almost as exciting as watching corn grow, but he's got over 100,000 subscribers. Apparently some people like watching him fish, and it's like, all right. He talks about, I found this spot today, we'll see if I get lucky today, and some days he's bringing them in where it's like, he's active. Other days he's cracking beers and he's sitting there for 2 hours and he doesn't get a bite. And yet people are watching this. And I'm like, how, if a guy can film himself fishing or golfing or crushing whatever, guys, there's no excuse for you to not do it other than you just don't really want to do it. And that's okay if you don't.
You make time for the things that you want to do.
There you go.
I'm just imagining this guy just sitting there, he's like catching a fish. And he goes, it's just like in life. There's some days you catch a big fish. There's other, and he makes the whole thing out of it. And it's probably
and he's done that. He's like, some days you catch the big one, other days you don't get anything. And some days you catch them, you take them home and you enjoy the after, you hook them and cook them. And other days, it's a catch and release, it's just not quite big enough. And you throw it back out in there and you go back at it again.
Those are good channels to have on in the background while you're putting around doing something else.
Guys, there's ASMR. It's the
That's crazy stuff.
We're gonna talk about things really quiet. Now you can get something out of it. You're doing stuff like that. It's like, and people are getting subscribers and money for whispering. It's like, are you kidding me? So yeah. You guys, you're cracking me up. This is great.
Now, since we're kind of going along, you mentioned ASMR. I can't help it, but I have to ask about So, Masculine Geek, you guys have a Patreon.
Yes.
We have a. I'll mention this at the end, but just because of our viewers, we have a subscribe star. But you guys have different tiers, and you mention it sometimes, Vince. You have a BDSM Patreon tier.
Correct.
Now we're talking.
Ah, Brooke's been waiting. He's over here rubbing his hands, going, "Yeah, getting to the nitty gritty."
I remember listening to you when you were on MLD talking about a whole thing, and I'm listening to this. I'm like, why am I so interested in this all of a sudden?
Of course you are. There's a small dominant in you as well. Of course.
And there you have it.
Yeah.
Before we get into that quick, but I just wanted to mention
you're turning red, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
You're almost red at the outline on your headphones there. That's pretty funny.
Yeah. I turned off the AC.
Okay.
No, right. No, the whole thing with you guys that was really cool was when you guys had Conk on the first time, and you guys started talking about like geek stuff, and you talked about D&D. That's where I was actually inspired to play D&D, was because you guys mentioned it. I'd always heard of it, like it was like a while ago, like years ago. I'm my parents were kind of along like obviously a little bit into the satanic panic kind of vibe when they heard about it. Yeah. I was real young once, and my dad said, I think I had Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and he threw them all away, and twice, because I would secretly collect them, and then I have some now, but I mean, he threw them all away twice. Yeah. Like once when I lived in Taiwan, and then once after I actually like smuggled them in my suitcase when we moved back to the States, and then he threw those away after he found out. And he said, you got to be careful because this and that. And, I remember in high school when there were kids I knew that were really into D&D, they'd really get into it. And that was like kind of, I maybe didn't believe it, but it was kind of instilled in there. And then once I heard you guys talk about it, I was at a friend's house. I kind of call it this. There's a couple of guys I met online. They post like home games of poker at their house. But then over time, we kind of became like a game house. Like on one hand, we're playing poker. On the other hand, we're playing like Smash Brothers on the Switch, the Nintendo Switch. Mm-hmm. And then I saw this table. I saw a DM screen, and I saw a couple of minis. And I said, "What's that?" He goes, "Oh, it's D&D. I do it on these days." And I'm like, "Hey, I'm kind of interested. I've never played it. Always wanted to try it." And then that's when I got into that. And then, I mean, that's since last year. It's just, I wonder, I mean, I talk about it probably more than I've talked about really anything else in a while. So, thank you guys for that. But BDSM, we got to get into that.
Sure.
What now? I know I heard your whole story on MLD with that. And I hear like Rob will mention a thing or two every now and then. Now, is TJ at all involved in that? Because every time I hear you guys mention it, it seems he gets a little uncomfortable.
No, he'll be like that. He'll be like the vulture in Warner Bros. No. No,
guys. No.
Yeah, no, that's not TJ's his thing.
Now, is that like? I mean, is that kind of like just you guys talk about different things and as like a discussion? Do you guys do a separate show just for that?
We do a separate show just for that, usually once or twice a month. It's our own journey as we're taking it now. We're talking about current events, things that are happening with our own girls. We may talk about techniques, things of that nature.
Okay. Now I don't hear
our own experiences
about it as much. Now, what's your relationship with this?
Well, it's like Vince is the master. He's the Sith Lord. I am just the apprentice. Okay. In the sense that Vince has definitely been doing the techniques and whatnot. He's definitely way deeper into it and has been at it a lot longer than I have. Mine, and I've said it from the very beginning, mine's more psychological than physical. I have a lot of the tools of the trade, the trappings, the toys, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I break them out with different girls and use them depending on what I want, what she needs. But most of mine is psychological. Mine's more, I hate to use the term because it's got such a negative connotation, but I do more mind games. And that to me, that's that's my way of being like, yeah, I've got this, because I don't need to put her in handcuffs, and neither does Vince. But I don't have to do any of that unless that's what I want to do. I can have her doing whatever I want her to do, and it's simply by a look, by something I say, an offhand comment, because I mess with my girls constantly. It's fun. It's fun to kind of to mess with them a little bit. They think things are going one direction, and you're like, oh, they're getting a little comfortable. All right, let's change that up. And so you give them a backhanded compliment or something. You say something a little off the wall, and they're like, and it's like, you heard me. And all of a sudden they start doing something else then, and you're watching that, and it's like, yeah, don't get too comfy, girl. You know, don't know.
Right.
Don't know. And they love it though, because they love the reward of it. They love the attention. Women, we all know it. Coin is the attention. You know, attention is the coin of the realm. We all know that, and this is no different. This is no different. And that's one of the funny things to me, that when I hear about, you know, red pill, when we start talking about that, and Vince and I know we've at least touched on it, if not actually talked about it, that it's like, oh, this is B&D stuff. This is dominance. This is dominance and submission stuff. This is something we've always kind of done. That you know, no, you know, or like Vince, he'll just kind of give him a look, or I'll give him a look and not even say anything. A woman she'll move mountains and do all sorts of jump through hoops and whatnot when you turn off your attention, you know, and you're not being mean. You're not being overt about it. You just basically you don't answer. You don't respond. You just ignore her. And all of a sudden she starts jumping through hoops, kind of like a dog or a cat does. And you know, and people, oh, cats, it's like, dude, my cats are well trained because they want my attention. Women are no different. They're kind of like cats. So you have to you can't treat them like a dog. You got to treat them like a cat.
Right.
And the best way to do that is don't give them too much attention.
I like how you mentioned Vince is the Sith Lord, but then like TJ is kind of not into this, because I just remembered there are always two. You guys remember from Star Wars? There's only you two. You can't have TJ in there. See?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In The Apprentice, huh?
Exactly.
There we go.
Exactly.
Yeah. Vince definitely has gone down the rabbit hole much deeper than me, and that's awesome, because there's even things that I'm like, I have no idea about that, and I'm listening to him, and I'm like, God, I'm taking some notes.
Yep.
You know,
now you've seen video, so
I have. I've seen proof. It's like, this guy's not just talking a game; he's doing it. I've seen the evidence. I've seen the evidence, and it's real. And it's like, holy shit, you're doing shit that I hadn't even thought of. I'm like, that's a fucking thing. Wow, yep. I didn't even know that was a real thing. And these women are loving it. It's like, wow, maybe I need to mummify a bitch.
Right. I did that with one of my girls live on Modern Life John's webinar. So.
I think he showed either his Instagram story. Or
he showed part of that.
Yeah, and I saw that. I was like,
teaser.
Oh,
it was funny. That was the most participated and watched webinar he's had, and you could hear a pin drop. There was like no chatter in the chat. It was just like everyone was staring.
I think I have a friend who's in his course, and he was one of the first in there. From my understanding, if you sign up, you get everything before and after you sign up. Like you get the whole
correct,
all the new stuff, and then all the previous stuff. So you probably had people that like maybe they'd done the course like months ago, just like, oh, there's this, and
I would like to see the analytics on that one.
Yeah. Now. I'm curious, is there a lot of crossover between sort of geek culture and BDSM culture?
You're going to get crossover with goth, heavy metal, and BDSM. There's a lot. If you go to especially cosplaying, if you go to any convention, for the most part, you're going to see a little bit of that. If you go to a heavy metal concert, or you're going to see a lot of that. Now, it may just be physical and visual, but there's definitely a lot of crossover in that regard. They feed off each other. The emotive gothy kind of chicks. Yeah. you can pretty much guarantee that
Goth
they're
girls, the more often than not, are also into being whipped and tied up.
yeah.
Because I'm seeing, I see videos of like, for example, like any sort of like D&D convention, and I'm just seeing all these guys that are playing, and I'm kind of like,
Not so much D&D. No.
Yeah, because I'm
mean,
thinking like, I'm like, where's the men in here?
Like
exactly.
You go to Comic-Con or something like that, and
No.
you got women all in pleather and all this stuff looking like some action hero. It's like,
no,
she wants to be choked and tied up.
The dudes in there, no. The women, some of them. If you go to a tattoo convention, if you go to a biker convention, yes, you're gonna find that's pretty standard. Really, you're gonna find that in there. At least some flavor of it.
Yep.
You may not get hardcore players, but yeah. So, and there's a lot of
mention the biker stuff, because I'm thinking, oh, hey, that's a world I know. I came from the biker world. I came from the clubs, and you had the 1%ers and all them other guys. And it's like, you know what? It's actually more prevalent than not.
Mm-hmm.
It actually is. It's there. If you know what to look for, you can find it. If you don't know, then you're just thinking, oh, wow, okay, well, that's interesting.
Yeah, because intrinsic in a biking club is there are clear rules.
Very, very, very.
Men lead, women follow. That's pretty much when you're getting into BDSM.
Yeah, you start, a lot of the patriarch guys that want to wax poetic about the 1940s or whatever. It's like, you want to really live that lifestyle, guys? Go join a 1% motorcycle club. That is your patriarchy.
Yeah,
because that's how it is in that organization. Women are seen and not heard. They don't have a political say when it comes to the organization. They sit where they're told to sit. They stand where they're told to stand. And if they get out of hand, whether you like it or not, sometimes they get slapped. And that's what happens in a 1% group. But the guys are in charge. They are the patriarchs. They're the man. And they will beat anyone down who says differently.
Yep.
Probably one of the few places where that's really a thing.
I would say it is literally the last bastion. That it is one of the last, and it's kind of ironic that it's the groups that everyone's afraid of in a lot of ways because of the way the media talks about them. Where a lot of them are really good guys. Like I said, I was part of that world. And it's like, the majority of them, they're actually great people. They'll give you the shirt off their back. They'll do anything for you and not expect anything in return. They're just like, oh, here, I'll help you out. They don't care. They're like, oh, you're a biker. You do this, you do that. You've proven yourself because you've modified your bike or you fixed it on the fly or whatever. You know what this world is about because it's a subculture within the culture. But same time, man, people talk about, oh, well, that patch says property of. Well, yeah, she is. That is a way to tell the rest of the club and other clubs and the general public, that's my woman. She's with me. And if you want to get cute, you're going to answer to me for it. And not only are you going to answer to me, but you're probably going to answer to a lot of guys in my club. There's going to be a few of us you're going to answer to if you want to get cute. And whether you like it or not, that is the reality of it. I've been there. It's like, whoa, you step out of line and run your mouth here, you're going to be missing a tooth or two.
Yeah. So what you're saying is, biker gangs are going to save the West.
You know what? It wouldn't surprise me if that's who actually does. It's like, wow, the Hells Angels saved the West. How about that? Yep. No kidding. Because, it's like you want that old school patriarchy, that guys fantasize over. That's the living embodiment of it that I've seen where it's being practiced in real life. It's like, well, the 1%ers are doing it. The outlaw motorcycle clubs are doing it. There's your patriarchy. Here it is. Here's what it is. And the women that are part of it, whether they're kind of orbiting it or they're a little more enmeshed in it, wearing a property of patch to them is a badge of honor. It's not oppression. It's not, oh my God, you're a slave, you're an object. They're like, no, I love this. I love the fact that I am given attention and respect for the fact that I'm with this guy. And it just is what it is. And so the women that do it, that's how you can tell real quick and easy who's in and who's not, is because the ones that are in, they understand what it means. They get the nuance of it. They know what it's all about. And the ones that don't, they're the ones that I can't believe. I would never, the Karens jump up and that's oppression and you're objectifying her. And it's like, yeah, say that to his face and see what happens.
It's like, yeah, we are.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that's how
I wanted to ask, on this journey into the BDSM, right? Did you have any reservations getting into it? Like, again, getting over the cultural taboos and stuff like that? Or was it just a natural flow?
Yeah, the taboos even exist sometime today. When I got into it, there was no internet. So wow. I had nothing. I was my own teacher and mentor. So it was difficult because who do you talk to? It's not like you can go to the local library and pick up books on it. You're not going to find that there. You have to use bookstores with information, and if you're lucky, if you can track them down, because there was no, aside from the phone book, there was nothing.
Yes.
But once the internet took off, then yes, then my journey quickly accelerated and exponentially exploded.
I'm sure it's a very rich online culture. Yeah, definitely.
And the people are very friendly. So.
Yeah, I've dabbled in it a little bit, probably when I was a bit younger. So now that really fascinated me in your show when you all started to talk about that, and that's always stood out for me. It's like, oh man, I got to look into this a little bit more. So
Absolutely.
I definitely give you guys the credit on that.
Sure, you're welcome. It's good stuff.
Well, yeah,
well, the interesting thing for me was coming to terms with I cannot live in a vanilla only relationship.
Exactly.
I'm not built for it. This is in my blood, and I've hurt quite a few women not being honest with them and myself. But that's the big thing you're going to get into this, guys. I mean, you may, if you're younger, you have some kind of shame attached to it. Don't. Don't be judged. Don't be a harsh judge of yourself, and don't let anyone else judge you. Be safe, right. Be sane, but do your thing. Do your research. Get out there. Connect with people. But online is a great resource. Online is a fantastic resource for these niches.
And this is what's interesting is the way you're talking about it is almost like. You're like, come on, connect with people, be safe, have fun. I'm thinking like, why does it sound like such a Mr. Rogers thing we're talking about, like BDSM? And that was the big thing that was like, so like the whole thing with, with D&D, with being a nerd, but also like and also red pill, when you're talking about BDSM, the big thing with me, and Brooke could probably relate to this too, was our religious background. A lot of that, how to approach that. Like it's very it can be difficult at times when you're trying to find someone that can relate with you. Like when you're talking to a guy who's basically like there's a friend of mine, he read The Rational Male, and he similar religious background as me. And it was the first time we talked after he read it was just like, trying to figure all this stuff out. We're like, oh my gosh, like just thinking in that different way where you like there's a lot of blocks you have to get through. There's just weird things like talking about, when you're with a girl, like you start like this is the woman that red pilled me, but when I was with her, there was this whole thing where like we had all these blocks regarding what we do, what we can't do in a relationship, where like I'd be making out with her and I'd stop myself from doing anything except having my hands around her like proper, because all these mental blocks. And and now you apply that with just every step of the way when it comes to the red pill, when it comes to breaking through the idea of, sleeping with someone, being intimate with someone. And then even now you got to go even further. And it's like through exploring that, it's like, oh, there's different aspects of, whether, I don't feel like myself, I would be going down like maybe as far as you have with like BDSM, but like some of those just concepts and things that you explore, I was like, it's almost like, it sounds kind of weird, but it's like it kind of awakens something within a man to kind of think, to talk about those things, to go, oh, it's because it's not so much like, people make it all like it's some sort of degeneracy, but it's like, when you think about it, there's a lot of it, and that's obviously just an expression of just being a man,
Absolutely,
being dominant in your life.
Yep.
That's the block that I guess I've had to work with, and probably a lot of guys who are either religious backgrounds or just very sheltered lives have to go through. It kind of sucks about modern society, is men that have to figure this out.
Well, yeah, you're told one thing, and then there's something completely different in reality under the surface. You're like, wait a minute, that's the problem.
See, I grew up when I was young. I was LDS. I was a Latter-day Saint. I was a Mormon. Okay. And I was the quintessential card-carrying, religious boy. And they teach you all kinds of things about thou shalts and thou shalt nots. And those things can stay with you your entire life. There's still things that I haven't been a part of the church since I was 12 or 13 is when I basically decided I'm done. And there are still things that I deal with even now at 48. So we're talking 30 plus years, and it's like, oh, that's the church talking. Okay. And you're absolutely right, Amos. There are blocks there. And the way, the couple of things that worked for me is, one was what you see happening, unfolding in real time, seeing women do what women do. Seeing them, that, oh my God, as an example, whether you choose to do it or not, that's your choice. But taking a woman home and having sex with her, and you just met her earlier that day or that evening, having a one night stand, having a same day lay, whatever you want to call it. Okay. Being, that, oh my God. And not only did she do it, and there was no, I didn't have to manipulate her. I didn't have to lie to her. She was into it, and I realized when I saw things like that, most people are like that. Maybe not all, but most people are like that it's like, oh, they're going to do what they want to do, whatever makes them feel good. And so all women are like that, to use awhile, so that it's like, okay, they all, if you know how to do it, I guess, or what to say, they all want to do that. Do they want to do it with you? Okay. So instead of being upset by it and being like, oh, she's a whore, or she's, a slut, or she's damaged goods. That's just their nature, man. It's what they do. Okay. I can accept it, or I can fight against it. And if I fight against it, it's just going to upset me more, and it's going to just piss me off more. Or I can accept that this is how it is, whether I like it or not. This is how it is. Well, I learned to accept this is how it is, and I'm okay with that. And since I don't judge them for that, it opens all sorts of doors. And it gives me access to things that when I was younger and either didn't know or I was judging it, I didn't have that access to it. So now it's like, oh, well, she did this, she did that. Yeah, I don't care. And then for me, the next step after that of realizing, wow, here's what's possible is the perpetual, unkillable 7-year-old in me is, okay, well, that's possible. What else? What else can I get away with? What else can I do here? And that's what kind of led me into BDSM and into a lot of the things that Vince and I have talked about with other people, was kind of the, what else can I do here? What else what basically from my point of view, from my frame, what can I get away with? What can I do? What I want to know, will she tolerate this? Will she tolerate that? And some women will tolerate more than you will ever imagine. And not only will they tolerate it, they'll love it. They've been looking for it, which further opens your eyes that, wow, they're all kind of like that. Or you realize, yeah, some women that, yeah, they're not going to do that with you. They might do it with someone else. And either they have done it with someone else, or they're going to do it with someone else down the road. But they may or may not do it with you. And if you're okay with that, then that's fine. If not, you got a problem. Okay. There's things that women have done with me that they never did with anyone else. There's things that women wouldn't do with me that they did with someone else. And it was all a learning lesson. And it was learning to get over the bitterness in a lot of ways of, well, she did this with that guy, but she wouldn't do that with me. And I had to learn, what's that telling you? I get, obviously I'm not that guy. Well, move on if that's what I choose to do. And they're all like that. They really are. And that's, Vince and I have talked about that mummifying a bit, tying them up, gagging them, telling them shut the fuck up, whatever, slapping them around a little bit. They all love that on some level. They all want that. And so for me, it's more of a degree of, what can I get away with here? The some of the things that women will tell me that come out of their mouth, and I'm just like, oh my God, if I was the judging type, I would be like, wow, you are one sick puppy. Because there's things that women have brought to me that I'm like, that's a thing. I didn't even know that existed. I didn't even know that was a thing. You want me to do what again? I need to go look this up because I thought you were just making this up, but apparently it's a thing. That's how little we as men know, but we pat ourselves on the back going, yeah, I'm the patriarch. I'm in charge here. It's like, dude, you have no idea. and the more I learn about women, the more I realize I have no idea. And so I'm just open to whatever shows up. Yeah, I have my boundaries that it's like, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do the other because I didn't like it. I didn't like how it made me feel. I didn't like looking myself in the mirror after I was done. I did not like that. So if you're into whatever that is, that's cool. That's your thing, but I won't do that. But then there's other things where it's like, oh yeah, I like that. Or there's things where it's like, I never even knew that was a thing. I'm willing to try that out. I've had women that it's like, I want you to hit me. And it's like, hit you. Yeah. Like slap you lightly. No, like hit me. It's like, are we talking close fist? Because close fist, no, I'm not going to punch you for a lot of reasons. But are we talking open hand or a backhand with some force behind it?
Yep.
It doesn't really get me off, but hey, if that turns you on, all right. And I've met women that's something they want.
Yeah, some of them may ask you in the middle of you fucking them too.
Choke me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Grab my neck and choke me harder. And you're just like, all right, bitch. And away you go, and they want to be degraded. They want you to call them names. They want you to humiliate them. And a lot of people who are not in it or understand that dynamic think that you're being, the patriarch, you're being, a Cro-Magnon man, you're oppressing the woman. And the reality is, no, she wanted that shit and it turned her on for whatever reason. Did it do anything for me? Not really. But it got her off and that was fine by me because then she reciprocated because then she did the things I wanted her to do. That it's like, all right, now, okay, I slapped you around a little bit. There's a handprint on your face that if you called the cops, I'd be in deep shit right now. But now I want you to do this for me because this is what gets me off. And they've always been happy to oblige. I've literally never had a woman that if I fulfilled whatever it was that she was hoping and asking for, I've never had them be like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. They all were like, oh, absolutely. They jumped right into it. And it's like, they're all like that, guys. They really are, and they will teach you, not only will women red pill you to reality as far as male and female intergender dynamics, they will red pill you on sexuality. They will red pill you on that whatever you consider depraved or sick or wrong or whatever it is. There is a woman out there who has done it and enjoys it. And if you're willing to suspend disbelief and judgment of her for it, she will open up a whole new world to you that you didn't know existed or you were too afraid to ask about. And she will be grateful to you for it because you were the one guy who didn't judge her.
Yeah, women live in fear of having their reputation ruined, and not by men, but by other women. So, like it or not, that's the way you have to be, and that's the way you have to act.
Yep.
Rob is very correct. So,
You
and
know,
one thing
I
too,
noticed someone in the chat, saying that Rob needs to be careful. Of course, I don't meet a strange woman off the street and take her home and choke her out and slap her around on the first go.
yeah,
Because
there's a level
you,
of trust that has to exist.
yes, you have to do your homework. You have to figure things out. You have to understand, is she psychotic and looking for a lawsuit? Is she someone that she just really wants this fulfilled and no one would step up and do it?
Yeah.
And you, the more you do it, the more you learn that, okay, yeah, this one's crazy. Don't do that with her, because you might end up in handcuffs and not in a good way. Or, you know what? No, she's going to be fine. She just wants a guy that, instead of going, oh my God, did I hurt you? Are you okay, honey? She's going to be like, I don't want you to say that to me. I want you to call me a bitch and I want you to slap me around. And you get to a point where not only do you say, okay, yeah, you're sane enough that I'm not going to jail over this. You get to a point like I did where I don't even care why she wants that. It's like, she's got a variety of reasons. Some of them are manufactured. Somewhere deep down, I'm sure there's a legit reason. And I can psychoanalyze her all I want, but I'm not her therapist. I'm her lover. I'm there to fulfill fantasies and have my fantasies fulfilled. So I don't care that, well, it's because it goes back to when she was 10, and I don't give a shit about any of that. It's like, you know what? You're a grown-ass woman. And as long as I'm not going to jail over this shit, then, pretty much we can do damn near whatever. But I do have hard limits that these things I won't do, and that you're not going to tell me otherwise. So.
Yep.
Spot on. Have you had any dealings with, what's this guy's name? Alan Roger Curry from Mode 1?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. His stuff is spot on. He's a little mercenary in his approach, one might say, and some.
But it works for him.
Oh yeah, and some guys may be off-putting for that, but you take what you want from his stuff and you leave the rest.
Yes.
My whole thing is, especially with whether it's online or in person, and this is a trouble a lot of guys get into, especially with the whole friend zone thing. Women don't put you in the friend zone. You put yourself in the friend zone. And what do I mean by that is, you do not let the woman know that at any moment in time you desire her and you want to bend her over and take her. She needs to feel that from you. She needs to feel a little bit of danger, excitement, and like, this guy's a little frightening, but I like it. But not frightening in the caveman way, but just she feels that strength, that dominance, and that danger coming from you.
Yes.
And she needs to know that very quickly. You cannot, as I tell guys, stop being friends with your woman. And I know a lot of guys are going, oh, my wife is my best friend. No, asshole, she's not. If your wife is your best friend, I guarantee you're getting maintenance sex once a month. Guarantee you. I'll bet money on that.
That's not maintenance.
Yeah, you're getting
it's not. It's not maintenance. You're getting what they call that starfish sex, or whatever. Yes. You're getting the duty sex.
Yep, she's doing taxes and thinking about the kids and whatever else in her head while you're pounding away. Yeah,
a woman needs to want to be a woman that desires you will want to do anything for you, and basically do what you say in the bedroom and out of it, and you can lead her. So, but when you first meet a prospective, and whether it's a submissive woman you want to bring into the fold, or you just want to date, it doesn't matter. She needs to know that you're a sexual creature. Yeah, and that you want her. That's anything else. You're going to be friends.
Wasting time.
You're completely wasting time.
I mean, it's. I think Rolo kind of puts it. He goes, well, he's like, my wife is not my best friend. Yeah. He's like, but is she the most important person in my life?
Of course. And you're not sitting down going, oh, hon, I had this really hard day. Guys, and I had gotten accused of this many times. Like, you don't talk. You're not very emotional. You don't. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I am not talking about these things. I have nothing to talk about. I'm working it out in my head. If I have something to talk about and that's important, I talk to my buddies. You're not here for that. I mean, that's just the bottom line. It's not. I'm not going to not be friendly with her. I'm with this woman that I, on some level care about.
Yeah.
But she's not my. A lot of guys get into the trap that they like, oh, this girl's into all this stuff that I'm into, and then they start treating her like a buddy.
Yeah.
You can't do that. You cannot do that. And I'll stand by that. You cannot do that.
One thing that, because Rob, you said you like Ryan Stone. I like the stuff he talks about, because I mean, he's obviously, his realm is like the married red pill. He's talking about guys in LTRs, marriages. One thing that I liked was because you get obviously the internet kind of takes things as a 1 or a 0. It's like,
it's all binary. Even what we're talking about right now is going to be taken binary.
Yeah. It's like they think either, like, if you're red pill, you got to go full red pill caveman, beat the shit out of women, and then pump and dump them all day long, or if you even introduced a little bit of like, like you said being friendly, guys. Oh, you're a fucking simp, and then they go the other way.
No.
And then the reason I like Ryan is because when he talks about it, he's like, well, you can't be alpha all the time. Like, there's what's going on in the bedroom, and then there's the afterwards. You come back, and then there's the comfort side. Like, it's like 90% red pill, 10% the little bit of beta to, like, obviously, because she can't. You talked about danger and sort of that aggressiveness. You can't have that all the time, because she's going to be scared.
Yeah.
Well, she'll either be scared, or she'll be so, that whole idea of dread game. You got her so wound up and so insecure about everything that she just can't fucking have it, and she'll.
Well, you follow her menstrual cycle. There are days she just wants to. It's funny because I would call one of the girls I was in an LTR with. She would just like come up on me and sit in my lap and cuddle into me. I was like, "Oh, you're nesting," so I know what's going on here. They want that too, but there's still strength. She feels that strength coming from you. Your arms are around her. You don't have to even say anything, and you're not go. And because of that, you don't have to say anything. You don't even have to say anything, but just be there, and that's important. That's definitely
say something usually.
Yeah.
Well, the way I look at it is, and this is where when I follow a lot of the red pill guys, but I also follow a lot of pickup artist type of guys, and they're the other side of the coin. Okay, if red pill is kind of what I call defense, it's protecting yourself from getting one-itis. It's protecting yourself from getting snowballed and getting divorce raped. Then pickup on the other side is the offense. It's the ability to be the dangerous man. It's the ability that you've got to take the risks. You've got to do the work. You got to approach. You've got to be the one to initiate. Otherwise, you end up being the friend in the friend zone, and you end up nowhere but frustrated and miserable. This isn't a science. This is an art. You have to learn from it. Even I still learn from it that, you make mistakes. That I had a date a while ago where I got pretty aggressive, that I was very forward. I mean, she had no doubt where I was going, and I was a little too aggressive, and it became a little too much for her. And I blew myself right out of the water. That it's like, I need to dial that back a little bit. That it's like you calibrate, you refine it. You realize, okay, maybe I didn't need to do this. Maybe I should have done that. Whatever it is, you don't beat yourself up over it. You just, okay, I learned something from it.
You learn and move on.
Yeah, you learn and you move on. That, like I said, I realized, okay, because when I was my chump days, like pre-marriage and during my marriage, I was the friend zone guy. I don't want to, I'm going to lie about my intentions. And the women knew, they knew you just want to have sex. But of course, I'm not admitting to it. Oh, no, I value your feelings and all that. And fuck, you end up friend zoned. I went from that extreme to the mode 1 in a lot of ways where, man, I was coming up on them and they knew right from the get-go, oh yeah, this guy, he's Mr. Right Now. He wants sex. He wants it now. I'm not being overly like pushy about it. I'm not being creepy about it. I'm not being overly aggressive, but they knew right off the bat. But for some women, it was a bit much. And so it's like, okay, you got to dial that, turn it down from 11 to maybe an 8. You know, got to dial the knob back a little bit. You got to fine tune this, where it's like, yeah, they know what you're about, but they also know you're not needy. You're not in a scarcity mindset. And that's where I've had, you know, I've seen guys talk about, well, if the woman doesn't do this, that, or the other by this time, then next, and delete and block her. And I'm like, why? Some of the best sex I ever had came from a woman that we went out, met her. It didn't really go anywhere. I kind of walked away and was like, fuck it, whatever. You know, I'll go and meet somebody else. But then a month later, that girl comes out of nowhere. Hey, and it's like, oh, it's back. It's on again. All right. Okay. Whatever. Because
don't shoot yourself in the foot.
Yeah. You know, I'm not planning on marrying these girls. So what? Well, she had a better option than you. So what? I still got laid. You know, my goal wasn't to wife her up and make babies. My goal was to get laid and have some fun. And so maybe this girl thought she had a better option. Okay, fine. I don't care. It's like, oh, she showed up again. Oh, what's up? How you been? I've had a few X plates that fell off, or I dropped them off, or whatever, that during this whole bug thing, they've showed up again. And it's like, oh, somebody's bored normal, you know? And if I want to, I can pursue those options if I choose, but I choose not to because I've already had them. It's like, I know what that is. I want something new. And so I don't really, you know, I still talk to them, you know, joke around, flirt with them a little bit, but for the most part, I already know what you are. I'm good, you know, but I don't block them unless they give me an absolute reason. You know, yeah, if they're going to disrespect me, then it's like, yeah, you're done. Right. You know, and I've done that before, but mostly I leave them open because it's like, they fall off, they come back on. You know, circumstances change, life happens, whatever. They got busy with work. They got scared because of the bug, because women are risk assessors. That's one thing I've noticed too, is a lot of guys, and I appreciate their optimism about, oh, you know, when the lockdown ends, it's going to be a free for all. And I'm thinking maybe in certain circles that might be the case, but in general,
business as usual.
But well, in general, I don't think it's going to be. I think in general, women are going to be a little more reluctant and a little more reticent. Because they are herd followers. They are risk assessors, not risk takers in general. And so they're the ones, when I go out and I see people wearing masks, I see 90% of women wearing masks. I see 30% of guys wearing masks. And that's because they're virtue signaling to the women or they're doctors. And if they're doctors, yeah, wear a mask. But the other guys that are out on the street wearing masks, it's like, okay, you're a pussy. All right, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. That's my opinion.
They're out there walking their dog with a mask. I'm like, come on, really?
But women are out
in their car.
In the cars, yeah.
Women are fucking sunbathing in bikinis wearing a mask. It's like, here's the herd, following the herd, doing what the herd does. Women are not inherently risk takers. Are there exceptions? Yes, there are. Are selected women that are wanting to just get down and do it. They're always going to be there, but they are the minority. Your average woman is not a risk taker.
Yeah.
And so that woman is the bug. So they're going to want to wear a mask. And I don't want to get busy with you because I might get the bug. And so going forward, it's going to be a slow takeoff.
There's only one caveat to that. And I agree with you to a point, Rob. It depends on, we'll bring it back to frame and dominant mindset. A dominant man is not going to have a problem bringing these women out of the bug.
I know where you're going, and I agree with that. About 98% of it. I agree with that. So the 2% is you're still going to have women because they drank all the Kool-Aid. That, you know what, you might as well just move on because she's gonna.
Those pain in the asses. You're not going to do it. You don't want them anyway.
But there's going to be a lot of
this is a good litmus test actually for the ones you want in your life, and the ones that you're able to, with your own personality and the force of your presence, bring them into your world. So, and that's another thing that I wanted to do with Masculine Geek too, is women are important. They are. I mean, this is all we had. When you bring it down to nature, it's like men and women fuck, they make babies, the species keeps going. That's what it is. Everything else is fluff and paint and icing on the cake. So and TJ and I were talking about this, is as far as the masculine geek, they're all into it. They put even to some extent, their sexual energy in it because they can't channel it to women because they don't know what they're doing. So the geek is more of a Renaissance man. He knows even his he's following a mission, whatever that is, whatever his mission, passion, whatever he deigns that to be. He's doing that. He's taking care of business. He's good in a crisis. All these different things make up a masculine geek. And that's what we were trying. That's what we were shooting for, because there's a lot of guys out there that they're good at being men, and they have these geek hobbies that they don't know where to introduce them to. Like I said with Jack, like, I have these interests that I do that I could never really talk about.
Mm-hmm. Hey guys, I have to jump off. I've got some other obligations I've got to take care of. So thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Awesome.
So,
it's good to have you.
pleasure. Good to connect with you.
Awesome.
Yep,
I think
good
we
to
were
connect with you.
Yeah, we were about to wrap it up because we usually go about an hour and a half here.
Oh, okay, cool.
We've been dragging it out for you. Your longest episode ever. Excellent.
Yeah, no, that's fine. We
right.
figured that probably happened. I mean, if TJ were on here, it probably would have gone even longer, but whatever he's doing. But no, I actually forgot. I got to put your guys' links. So, I mean, the only links for you guys is masculinegeek.com,
correct,
robsmith.net. Anything else, Brooke, that we should? I mean, actually, we shouldn't. We shouldn't go too far.
I've got a million questions, but
we'll do a round two. We'll do a round two.
Definitely.
You guys have been
when TJ can be here too.
We'll get him. We'll get his ass on here too.
Of course, everyone subscribe to the channel, like the video. Leave a comment.
Creatures.
That was our old